Hey everyone, Shane Walker here. Just going to take a few minutes to give you my experience on TryHackMe and note-taking and some of the shortcomings that I had and how I think improved upon it a little bit. One of the things I found as I would go through it is I would get into this analysis paralysis constantly, and a lot of that had to do with my existing note-taking practices. And if you've ever taken a class from me, I've often talked about how important it is to do notes and take screenshots and things like that. So with that being said, I highly recommend a tool like GreenShot. There's also another screenshot tool called FlameShot. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. I haven't really played with it much. I'm pretty happy with GreenShot. Both of those are good open source screenshot tools, but I highly recommend using those as you're taking a class or going through TryHackMe and taking notes and things. And I've been doing that, and I've been echoing that for a long time, especially to my students, how important that is. And so as I was going through a lot of these TryHackMe rooms, I would just commonly use like Google Docs to take notes. So I would come in here and I would take screenshots and put notes in here. And so I have kind of my Linux notes and my web app pen testing notes and Windows Server notes and things like that. And as I go through a TryHackMe room, I'd screenshot things that were important, and I would, kind of dress them up a little bit with the borders and things like that. And then I would, reference the room, and then I'd take some of the commands, for example, and I'd paste them in here. And then if I wanted to go look for a command, then, or try to reference my notes, I would just come in here and I'd do a Control F and I'd search for like Python, for example, and I can see I've got a couple instances of Python in my web app pen testing, and then but it kind of just started to become overwhelming. And although this is better than nothing, taking some kind of notes, what I found is I'd go through these started going through these TryHackMe rooms, and I would get like analysis paralysis. Say, okay, well, this is another Python command. Let me take this command, and now what notes do I put it in, and where do I put it in my notes? And I felt like I was losing a lot of ground because it was so disorganized. So I took a few weeks earlier this year to kind of really see what I could do to improve my note-taking abilities and help me get through this. I think I finally found a solution for me, or a process, I should say, that works okay. So I played with a lot of different tools. I played with Obsidian. And Obsidian was nice in that, it's a great Markdown editor, absolutely great. If you don't know about Markdown, it's super cool, super handy, but it's not super rich as far as like with Microsoft Word, for example, you can make bold and highlight, do a lot of things, which you can do some of that in Obsidian, but not to the same level. And I almost felt like Obsidian was getting just kind of like an unorganized mess, but it's probably just because I'm not an expert at it, and I really wanted something more rich. But this is a fantastic Markdown editor; it works great. So, and again, so what I ended up doing is I found a tool called cherryTree, and it's actually been around for a while. It has it's open source. The downside is some people have complained that it crashes. It loses, you can lose your data, but there are ways to turn on multiple backups a day and back up to different places. So I'm leveraging that myself. But with that being said, I really like the way it gives me this hierarchical ability to do things. And this isn't so much an advertisement for cherryTree as much as it is for I finally found a process that helps me get through these TryHackMe rooms that can sometimes be a little overwhelming and also organized and have an ability. So basically what I've done is, and I started this way too late in the game, but going forward I'm going to continue to do this. But essentially, so I would create, so there's the CompTIA Pen Test Plus Learning Path. So I just started this like as I said at the end of this track here. But let's say, for example, and then there's a room called Credential Harvesting. I go in there, each room has an introduction, and there's different tasks within the room. If you guys have done TryHackMe at all, you're probably already familiar with this. But what I found is that, so what I do is I go in and I use a tool like GreenShot. I screenshot each one of the tasks. Sometimes it takes multiple screenshots, and then I read through it and I highlight stuff that I think may be important. It's just like if you're studying and taking notes, right? And then I paste it into my notes here under task 1. I like the way that I can nest these things, right? So I got this, and I go in, and if there's any links in here, I'll copy and paste them in. But also, as I go through this, as you get to some of the more advanced tasks, I'll go in and I'll again take screenshots, highlight the things I need. But so one of the downsides, and many of you guys may already be saying, yeah, but you can't search that because this is text messages, not text messages. These are text. These are images, not text. Jeez. and the thing is that you can't search for these words in here. So one of the things I do, so I do it this way. I go through, and if there's commands in there, I'll copy them, I'll paste them in here. This is something else I'm very impressed with cherryTree, is the way that it can kind of figure out if it's code, and it does decent with the process or the formatting of it, and a really rich formatter. So I really like that, and I like the ability to nest things. But essentially, so I'll pull the commands out here, and then so I go through this, and now then, but so that I don't lose the searchable stuff, I'll basically right click here, I duplicate the node, and I basically delete most of the stuff out of it, and then I go to the TryHackMe room itself, and I just copy and I paste all of the the text and the kind of the lesson from TryHackMe, and it all goes in text that is searchable. Now the formatting is not great, as you guys can see here, which is one of the issues I was having with my analysis paralysis. But what I found is okay, I can do the screenshots here, I can take my notes, I can do the learning here, and I have everything highlighted. It's not searchable, so that's a weakness of it, but I do like having it nicely formatted so I can quickly go back and review it. And then I copy and paste all the text so that if there is something I'm searching for, I can still control F and go find the word or words or whatever it is that I'm looking for, and it'll take me here, and then I could, if I wanted to, I could come reference it back here. And now the third piece of this is that they always have the challenge, right? So or they don't always, but a lot of the TryHackMe rooms, especially as you get to some of the more advanced ones, they have a challenge at the end. And so one of the things that I'll do is, again, I love the ability to right click and duplicate the node, and I can reuse the information that I need to. But then as I get to the challenge, I just do the task and I put challenge, then I come in here, and then I actually go through and I put the exact commands that I run here, and then I put a screenshot of it, and I go through, and I found that this makes it so much easier to organize, to go through, and then to kind of do these walkthroughs. One of the things I've found is that once I started doing this, I love it. It might slow you down a little bit in the beginning, but what I found is I've become a lot less reliant on having to go out and watch walkthroughs where other people have done these rooms before. Now, I'm not saying it eliminated it, but it's really helped organize it. So for those of you guys that are doing TryHackMe or taking studies and things like that, and you want to know a process that seems to work well for me and how I've taken my notes,